Hey guys, my name is Charles Cinco.
And I'm Carlo now.
And you're tuning into Hookah Bout It. Guys, who we are is basically just two best friends that got together, created this podcast because we wanted to touch on a couple of things that maybe are not really talked about in public or usually have a frowned upon type of topic with the people.
Yeah, and it's something to spark a conversation in a meaningful way so that we could help impact others and have our audience learn a lot.
Yeah, and really spark a dialogue, because now we're living in an era right now where dialogue is really something that people need to start looking at, because create a voice for them, right? So thank you for tuning in. Please give us a like, subscribe us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
What's our topic today, man?
Oh, we are recording right now?
What's our topic today, Charles?
Oh, it's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
What is it? Oh, hold on. First, before we get into it, man. I gotta check it, bro.
What does it say?
97.7.
Is that good?
We're good.
That's good.
We're clear, right? We're clear?
We're good. That means you don't have to get...
Am I good? Am I good?
Why are you 90.8?
Am I good?
98.9.
Am I good?
99. Bro, you get fucking hotter every time you go. You're 100 right now. I'm just playing.
I'm just kidding.
But
I'm
anyways,
just kidding.
Today we have a big topic for you guys. I think it's something that's actually been expanded with pandemic going on, with the COVID going on. I think the opportunity really showed a lot of people that it's not time for them to create their own brand.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
Today's topic is all going to be about entrepreneurship. Whew, I'm excited for this
it.
one. Bringing this together can tie in just 2020 overall.
Yes. You know what, I'm excited, man,
That's
because
a thick ass smoke.
It was, right? But I'm excited mostly because the more times we get a chance to do this, the more fun it gets.
Yeah.
You know, we become more effective, more efficient.
Yeah.
You know, the setup time wasn't as long, and I loved it.
Yeah.
We no longer have those arms like in kind of like
Yeah.
in front of our faces and stuff like that. I love how we're being able to evolve as we're growing this
And
thing.
I think that's part of entrepreneurship, right? Being able to adjust from what your first, second experience was.
Yes.
And then making your third, fourth, fifth experience much better.
Yes.
So guys, today is all gonna be about entrepreneurship. So let's start with this first question, Carlo. How long have you been an entrepreneur?
I've been an entrepreneur for a good 4.5 years now. I feel like I'm still obviously in the beginning. I'm still in like the baby stages of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You know, because in the beginning, right, in the first, second, third year, it's a lot about finding yourself.
Yeah.
It's a lot about identity. Who do you want to be,
Yeah.
right? And what do you want to do for people? And that was the journey that I was been on for those first few years.
Yeah.
And it took a while, even to be confident to be even making a podcast like this. This is something that's outside that realm of comfortability for me. I got a chance to meet you through it, and it's been good.
That's right.
The past 4.5 years.
I can't believe it's been 4.5 years, going to 5 years since I first met you. And it just seems like it was just yesterday when we first met and I made you cry.
You did make me cry.
Through that one exercise.
Man.
So we did.
And I barely even knew you.
I think we've only known each other for like a month at that time.
Yeah.
Right?
So what and to update you guys on what he did to make me cry.
In a good cry.
In a good cry.
It's a good
cry. And what he did is that he did this exercise called the 7 layers of why.
Yep.
And it's just the same thing as like a kid asking you why all the time as a parent. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
That's a good way. It's true.
Right?
Yeah. As kids, we're trying to absorb every new information, right? Everything is new. And so it's like, why? And then you hit a certain point of like maturity in your life, probably like when you're 13, 14, 15, when you think you're aware enough that you stop asking why.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first time I can vividly remember with myself. It's like that was the first time I could tell I wasn't growing because I thought I was aware enough, I was conscious enough. And you know, when you're a teenager, you feel like you're on yourself. You're by yourself, right?
Yeah.
At least for me growing up. And so entrepreneurship, going back into that, is like being 17, it kind of like rolled into this mantra again, this space of like curiosity, right? So I feel like when you first got started, that why, 7 layers of why, it was more so an opening for you to be curious again within yourself, understanding first, okay, why am I even actually in this business?
Yes.
Right, and then why am I going to pursue this business? So talk about or share a little bit what made you cry, and what was some things that you broke through that time that we talked about, or you shared about your why?
Man, so one of the things that I was learning at the time, it was being open, sharing my story, and revealing that to people. And Charles, very thankful for him being able to even help me during that time, because we barely even knew each other. And I appreciate you a lot for being able to help me through that. And when you asked me those questions, it was just very direct.
Yeah.
There was true meaning in wanting to understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And the breakthrough that I had was that every time he kept asking me, he's like, "That's not it. You gotta find it deeper, man. You gotta find it deeper. That's not it. It's not affecting you. You're provoking me." It just boiled down to kind of how I was raised, how I grew up, and what happened to my family, growing up poor, having to fight and struggle, and wanting more out of that. Because during the time, it's so tough to live in a poor environment, not having enough, right? You want to be able to give to your loved ones, right? You want to be able to be abundant in those areas.
Yeah.
But just during that time, it just felt like the world was just kind of crashing down on us as a fam. When are we gonna catch a break?
Right.
It's
almost like you were having your own recession before the recession hit.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
Yeah.
And that was the journey that I was going on. And you revealed it to me, and I was like, man, you know what? It's one thing about being the only person in the family that's open to being an entrepreneur, taking the risk, doing all those things to have a better future, right? And I saw that, and that's what I was scared of. And that's why I started crying to you. And I started tearing up. I was like, dude, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
So that was the breakthrough that I had.
Dude, I could tell this is still emotional to you to this day. I can see it in your eyes. You can't. The people at home right now probably can't see it, but I can see it right now as you were talking about it. Honestly, and I remember my intention wasn't to make you cry, because I remember Brent was the one who asked us. One of our mentors he asked me to help you out, right?
Yes.
with that exercise.
Pulled me to the side.
I didn't really know you at that time. But I, as I was listening to your story, I felt connected with it. And I think that was the breakthrough within opening up myself to be friends with you and explore that friendship, right?
Yeah.
At least for me.
Yeah, and to let you guys know, there's actually one moment where Charles was able to do that. And for some reason, Charles has always been the one to really open up in a big crowd of people. And it's an intimate moment because he's vulnerable and he's emotional. And he cried sharing his story and his whys, and it inspired me to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because when you shared your story in front of in the old office, old office, you shared it in front of the team, and I was like, man, this guy's 20, 21 at the time, having to go through the responsibility of wanting to retire your mom, want to do these things because she moved from the Philippines. Right, being a doctor to now downgrading and having to work as a nurse here in America,
you're getting me choked up.
Yeah,
you're really paying attention to my story back then.
Oh,
shit.
Absolutely, man. And those are the golden nuggets that I paid attention to, and that I remember to this day. Right, those moments.
Man, that's wow. Shit. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I guess to kind of answer the same question that I gave to you is I started entrepreneurship at 17 years old, but the first time I can vividly remember I was being an entrepreneur was stealing brownies from my mom, right? And then selling that for 25 cents from junior year to senior year.
Oh, you did that in high school?
I did that in high school. I didn't really know what the word was. I think in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, I don't think entrepreneurship was as big as it is now, it's being thrown around. So I didn't really know what the word was, but I knew in my head, I don't want to work for a boss.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it just so happened that right after I got out of high school, someone recruited me into an opportunity, worked my ass off, and it was the first time I learned to be a boss. And I was fortunate enough, I was mentored by someone who's been there, done that, and still doing it. I think that's very important. when you're being mentored by someone, you also don't want to be mentored by someone who's just done that. For me, I like to be mentored by someone that's done that, but still doing it.
Yes.
Because it's perfecting their craft still. It's understanding that, hey, I still haven't reached the potential limit.
Yeah.
But within that limit that I was able to achieve, can I transfer that to someone? And I found someone like that.
Yeah.
And bro, like it was the first time I earned $25,000 at 17 years old.
In 1 month?
In 1 month. This is selling knives. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about the company, but it was selling knives.
Yeah,
For the people who you guys know what I'm talking about, high quality ass knives. And that's what I did. And it wasn't because I was, like inspired by the knives. It was just like, it was a new experience for me. And I fell in love with the experience. I didn't care what the product was, right?
Yeah.
And right after I understood, okay, this is what entrepreneurship is about. It's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, that, okay, what's next, right?
Yeah.
And now it's become more of a finding yourself game, right?
Yeah.
That's where I started tuning in. Like after the first 2 years of experiencing how it is to earn money, then I started becoming so obsessed with like finding more about myself, right? Instead of controlling it, liberating myself. It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Moving into entrepreneurship, I've been in 3 other opportunities that was always for me, right? And I felt like it was really suited for me. Now going to 9 years in business, it's scary, right? It's scary, especially with today's time.
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How many people in your circle have you seen open up a business, start their own brand, start their own culture, whatever it is in your circle, just on 2020 alone?
Dude, a lot. And I love it. I love the fact that people are getting creative and they're putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
In today's economy, it's not so good to open up a brick and mortar, right?
Yeah.
COVID, right? You're closed down. People can't come to your business. But if you were to open up, like, let's say retail, like digitally, you could promote anything on social media. It's free.
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
It's
true.
Yeah. The fact is that if you're providing value, content, right? Things that people see value in, then they'll support you.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's good and it's good quality, right? Then it's like, of course I'm going to pay for this thing.
And kind of like to add on to that, because I've also known probably like more than 10 people that I talked to, like started their own brand, their own culture, their own identity. But one thing I've always asked them is like, what actually prompted you, besides COVID, to finally start this brand? And I'll tell you one story. I'm not gonna share who their brand is or what their brand is, but there's this one story, and I asked her, so what started this whole mantra of hug your people movement? And I asked him, why did you start this movement? And she said, honestly, it was because my boyfriend's brother passed away 2 months ago from a car accident. And he was always about people. He was always about loving people and hugging your people. And the brother, which is the boyfriend, wanted to start a brand that represents his brother. And I thought to myself, and I told her too, it was like, that's a brand that I could fuck with.
Yeah.
Like that's a brand that has a real message.
Yeah.
And to me, why I think COVID, one of the blessings that it opened up for a lot of people is sharing their story. Having the ability to now be in their own space without work, right? Conjuring up the courage to start their own brand with a story behind it. It's kind of like this, Hookah Bout It.
Yeah.
It's still a brand that we're starting off, right?
Yeah.
And I think our brand, not I think, but I know our brand is more so about like talking about things that aren't really usually talked about. Topics that are relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
But isn't being talked about.
No, it's not. That's what I love, man. And the fact that we created this thing to have a voice so that people could actually have their own.
Yep.
And I love the idea of bringing in guests and guests who could touch up on those subjects, guests who educated about those things.
Yeah.
And that could actually educate you guys, the audience, on things that could be important to you. Because there's a lot of solutions out there, and there's a lot of problems that a lot of people face, and people typically don't look for it.
Yeah.
And
I like that word you use, solutions.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
That's what businesses are. They're providing a solution.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing in today's thing is that your business will only be successful if you're solving a big problem.
Exactly. That's it. I think one thing that we should also highlight when it comes to entrepreneurship is if you are starting an entrepreneurship brand, and your expectations is a return of a massive return, like 2,000, 3,000 return, that's a huge deal. But one thing most people don't understand is that the brand and the business that you're doing has to be of value for the market. So let's just put it this way. You can't complain if you're getting paid $8 an hour, $12 an hour, $15 an hour if you're only flipping burgers. You can't. The reason being, there's nothing against that.
Nothing against that.
But you can't, because if you really think about it, the value that you're giving to the people is what? Not as much in comparison.
Flipping the burger.
Right? In comparison to someone like putting their life in, like I'll tell you right now, I think teachers and firemen and law enforcement are underpaid.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because the value they're giving to the market is huge.
Yeah.
But if we talk about just companies in general, right? Like people who are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone. They're getting paid millions of dollars because the value that they give back is huge.
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm reading this new book. You ever heard the books of Jen Sincero?
No.
So there's this, I'm reading that book right now.
Yeah.
And she goes on and mentions that if people were living up to their potential, making the amount of money that they should be making, you know, they'd be a lot more happier, a lot more fulfilled.
True.
And they'd be a lot more innovative in collaborating with Earth, right? And collaborate with Earth and people.
Ah, okay. I see
You know what I'm trying to say?
That's what I'm trying to say, yeah.
If you look at like successful people who are greedy, right? The people who make rich look bad, right?
The people who makes the rich look, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
right?
do.
And with that, right, with greed, what it stems from is a sense of insecurity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a sense of lack, because it's like, I'm gonna keep this money because I feel like I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's my sense of significance.
Yeah.
Versus somebody who has, you know, that character of giving, abundance. I want to make money so that I could impact people. I could show people that it's possible, and I could pour into them what I've learned, the values and philosophies I've learned, so that they could become better at their life too.
That's a great point, because I think what you're insinuating is exposure.
Absolutely.
You know, like what entrepreneurship does to an individual is it exposes who you really are. Like when you thought you were a certain way, right, with your family, with your brother, with your kids, with whoever it is, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, then the entrepreneurship world is just you and what you're creating. So now all of a sudden, to some people, it might be foreign. It's like, wow, it's literally just me.
Yeah.
I can have creative control of how I want this to go, and also how I want this to be expanded to the consumers. But when it comes to the money aspect, it's just like money just exposes who you really are.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah.
It does,
sure.
right? Because if you are an individual who was always about giving people, loving people, creating something, providing for the people, with money, you can expand that. Talk about Tony Robbins, you talk about Manny Pacquiao, what he's done for the Philippines.
Oh man, I love that.
You talk about Barack Obama, you talk about these real influencers. That's why for me, I've always had a problem. I don't know if you know this, but like this year or last year, when Jeff Bezos hit like $1 trillion or something like that.
He hit $1 trillion?
Was it $1 trillion or $1 billion or something like that?
He's been a billionaire for a while.
He's been a billionaire for a while, right?
Yeah.
But I remember there was like a certain milestone that he hit. And I would read the comments. There would be a lot of people, the broke mindset, bashing him for being a trillionaire. Oh, you should be doing that. You should be doing this. You should be giving this back. You should be charity, whatever it is. Trying to control the money that he worked for.
Yeah.
When really in reality, we should be applauding the guy for pursuing the dreams that we want to pursue.
Yeah. If you think about it, right? Think about Jeff Bezos as, yes, he's getting paid, right? This significant amount of money, astronomical, right?
Yeah.
So he's the richest person for a reason, and the reason why is because he's created this Amazon, he's created this, and he's made so many wealth. Right, he's made people wealthy. If you think about it, the people who've invested in his business in the beginning, he made them wealthy. The people he's made jobs, especially this year.
That's so fucking true.
That's
a good fucking point, yeah.
So it's the impact he's making. Because you think about businesses and entrepreneurship, you're creating jobs. You're creating abundance.
Exactly.
And you're giving. That's giving.
Yes. And I think what most people are not open to the idea is like some people think that rich people are greedy or entrepreneur people are greedy or whatever. Like they just want it for themselves. But I think what they're insinuating is that is maybe an individual is not running their company the right way.
Yes.
Right? Maybe that's why some people can come say, this owner or whatever, my boss is a bitch, or I don't like working for this bro, like whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the people that we look up to are the people that are doing it the right way.
Yes. Absolutely, man. Yeah. And I love that because it's a matter of who you're following, you know, because then if you're following the wrong person, then you're going to end up following the wrong characteristics, the personality, you know, you're mirroring something that could make you have a bad reputation.
Yeah.
You know, and so really be observant about that stuff.
Let's actually talk about that.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to list out some people that I look up to. And I want you to list out some people that you look up to.
Okay.
So, for example, like for me, Tony Robbins. You've known, I'm a Tony Robbins guy.
I'm a huge Tony Robbins guy too.
Tony Robbins first.
Yes.
Right? Because I've attended his events probably 5 times already. First one was I was 18. Second would probably be Brene Brown.
Oh man,
Brene Brown.
We talked about that in the first episode.
Yeah, we did. And what I love about her is just she focuses so much on courage.
Oh.
And
I love her.
And just like freedom in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Third one has to be for me, man, I don't need it varies for me. Third one could be like Grant Cardone 1 minute, Ty Lopez another minute, Gary V another minute. But you know, those two for me are the most consistent one.
Tony Robbins and
Brene Brown. Number 3, number 4, it could just flip flop. But for you, who do you think you?
So absolutely number 1, Tony Robbins.
Really?
Same thing.
Really? I did not know that about you. Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because what he was able to do in terms of understanding the human.
Yeah.
Right. When we and this is going to be our next subtopic that we're going to talk about is understanding what human emotions are.
Yep.
How to control them, manage them, and allow them to work for you in those crucial environments. You know, I just recently watched the I'm not your guru again. I watched it again with Christina. I was like, man, I'm like, dude, like now that I'm watching this again at a different level of my entrepreneurship journey, I feel like I'm learning a lot more like different stuff. You know, and
because what you're saying is repetition.
Yeah.
Right. Repetition is the mother of key. And what I'm starting to understand, being an entrepreneur now, next year after next year after next year, is that it doesn't matter if you're watching the same thing. What matters is if you're going to watch the same thing, do you have a different mindset now? Because you can take some knowledge that you weren't able to see and hear the first time around because you weren't ready for it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, right? Absolutely, man. To now go to my second person. My second person would be, I'd say Gary V, especially at this time of my life because Gary V talks about, and this was one of the reasons what got me to do something like this. He talks about when you're making content, make it like it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just put it out there.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that you put it out there means that you're
document it.
Yes.
That's what he said. Like
documentation.
Don't fucking worry about content.
Perfection.
Worry about documenting.
Absolutely. And I love that because it allows me to just do it.
Yeah.
Even though I mess up, even though I fuck up, even though I make mistakes, I know that one day I'll be good at it because I'm doing it.
Yes.
You know?
And I do see your Instagram, like, compared to last year, you barely post anything.
Man, like, if you look at my Instagram, it was bad.
Yeah, like now you post every day. People now get to see your growth. Even if it's just like, you know, like atomic growth, like from 1% or 0.1%, people could see that over time.
Yeah.
It's actually something that me and Joe were talking, actually I brought it up yesterday. And I told her, like, isn't it funny like how people, for example, if I am on route for becoming a doctor, for example, and I've been talking about becoming a doctor for like 4 years.
Yeah.
I posted on Facebook, Instagram. But isn't it funny, like, for example, if I was a doctor and all of a sudden the next day I start talking about entrepreneurship. I start talking about maybe becoming an actor or becoming an actress. Then you get those people saying, what the fuck, bro? Weren't you just trying to become a doctor? Those are the first people in line to want to judge you.
Yeah.
Because what they're subconsciously not thinking about is that they're judging you first, but second is they're not thinking that, man, they've been invested in you. They've been invested in me to want to judge me. Does that make sense?
Invested in you, as in like they've been watching you like a hawk.
Watching me without even knowing they've been watching me.
Okay, yeah.
Because now they're judging me because I did something else.
Yeah.
they didn't even know that they were invested in me since the first time around. I don't know if I'm making sense, because your haters are usually the first ones to say something, because first they didn't know they were invested in you since the beginning.
Yeah.
That's why documenting is so important.
Yeah, meaning that you're on their mind.
Yeah.
You're on their mind.
Yeah.
The fact that you're on their mind means that there is a win.
For me.
For you.
For me.
Right, but for them, they're losing because now they're not focused on what they need to get done.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
But you get what I'm trying to say, right?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely, man. And so, documenting, no matter what, right? If you go one way, if you go another way, right? Life's a journey anyway.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal, everyone has the same ultimate goal, is to experience this thing called life. And the only way that you can do that is if you have money.
Yeah.
You can see on the bottom spectrum is that if you don't have money, it's selfish.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, it's about me, it's about me, it's about me. I don't have money, help me.
Expand on that.
You know what I mean? So like, let's say for example, like a poor, like
that's a good topic.
There's a difference between poor and broke.
Big difference, but people don't get that.
Yeah, people. If we were to touch up on this, guys, broke means that you don't have money. Poor means that you have a poor mindset, meaning that you're a victim to your circumstances. There's no way out. It's just this whole negative downward spiral that it's not possible.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of being positive, the whole idea of having hope and inspiration, motivation to do all those things, right, is because I want to do something for somebody. I want to now expand on becoming a better person, and by becoming a better person, now I'm going to start attracting opportunities, right, and income.
Yes.
And it increases over time because of my character. My character develops.
Exactly.
And you provide more value.
And speaking of money, it's just like, I think it's very important that, like, when I know a few people actually, that is blatantly saying, I want to become a millionaire.
Blatantly
saying, I want to be, my goal today is I want to become a millionaire. So fucking bad, right? But like, man, I forgot about that song too, honestly. But seriously, one thing that we actually should break down is that 1 million concept. I think is very important, is because some people are saying, I want to become a millionaire, but there's no substance and reasoning behind it.
There's no why.
There's no why behind it. But like, if we think about it, right? Some people will say, well, Charles, I didn't tell you I want to become a millionaire because I want to keep the whole million for myself. I just want to keep $200,000 for myself and donate charity $800,000. Or I want to keep $500,000 because the other $500,000 I want to open up a care home.
Yeah.
I want to open up a charity or organization. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important, that when we aim for a big goal that sounds good to a lot of people, the next step to that should be, okay, but why are we aiming for that next goal? Because everyone could literally say, in this room right now, I want to become a millionaire. But the reason behind that is like the why, or the breakdown of that money, on how you're going to go about it, is much more important.
Absolutely. That's going to be your driving force. And that's why Charles asked me those 7 layers of why. He asked me why, because it needed to be concrete. It needed to be something that no matter what, during the tough times, I could still perform.
Yeah.
And so perform not only for myself, but for the loved ones and the vision that I have for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
All right, what we're gonna talk about now is emotion versus logic.
And I think why we wanted to include that is because that has a lot to do with entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Go ahead, man.
No, it has a lot to do with entrepreneurship when it comes to like logic and emotions. I think just as human beings in general, we're very emotional beings, but some people have just mastered listening to the logic first before emotions, while some people have created a lot of businesses with emotions first and then logic. So vice versa. So let's talk about it really quick, because we're talking about individual people. Now, obviously for the audience in here, when we talk about emotions, different emotions, variety of wide range of emotions.
Huge range.
Let's talk about it really quick. Go for it.
So when we talked about identity, in the beginning of entrepreneurship journey, right? I spoke about 1 to 3 years finding myself. It was huge. Because emotions play a huge part. Huge part in going through your entrepreneurship journey. And it could get so tough to the point where your mind becomes your enemy at one point. As I was touching up earlier, right, that victim mindset. It's like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? And so this is where what you want to do is you want to detach yourself right? You want to, and it's kind of like astral projecting yourself, right? Where it's like, I want to take myself out of the equation. You know what I mean? Because you want to now understand what's happening. What's the bigger picture? Why is this all happening to me? Yeah. Why are my emotions going through these things? Yeah. You know, do I want to sit in my emotions? Yeah. Do I want to be sad, depressed? Am I going to allow that to cripple me? Yeah. Into not doing anything, not taking action? And that's one of the things that happened to me in the first couple of years, is that people are so afraid of rejection, you know? So many people are afraid of rejection, and one of the rejections, and it could be as simple as saying hi to somebody and somebody gets ignored.
Prospecting on the go? Is someone prospecting on the go?
Yeah, prospecting on the go, or even like talking to somebody and they say no to you. It's not for me. It's not necessarily what they're saying no. They're not saying no to you as a person. Yeah. They might just be saying no to the idea, the opportunity, you know? And so that's if you were to understand that perspective, then you're not fazed. Yeah. It doesn't bother you anymore. Yeah. You know, because the more we understand that part of us as human beings, is that there's that emotion is gonna creep up. Yeah. But if we can anticipate it, if we can know that there's a reasoning behind those rejections, you know, then we could figure out and be at peace with who we are as a person, as our identity. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't change who you are. It doesn't. Yeah. You know? Yeah. It's just a matter of managing it now.
I think it's just exposing who you were or who you are even more. Mm-hmm. But let's dial it back, like when it comes to emotions, right? Mm-hmm. I firmly believe this. No businesses start off with logic. I think it has to start off with a person first having the vision, that emotion. Yes. Right? Being connected enough to know, like, okay, shit, I really want to create this hookah bar because I want to bring people in. I want to make this business because I want to serve people. Right? It's all emotion basis. But I think where people get convoluted with the idea of business is, okay, now I have the vision, right? And this is my biggest struggle. It's like, now I have the vision. The execution is a structure. The execution is logic. Yes. The execution, the planning behind that is all logic.
Like tracking it all.
Tracking it all. I'm not even, I can't even keep track of my calories. Fuck, what else? What else when it comes to fucking, you know, structure, when it comes to like how is a business structure going to look like, the model and everything like that. So I know that first businesses start off with emotion. What's your goal? Absolutely. What's your vision? What is it that you want to serve for people? What is it that you want to provide for the people? Do you have a servant heart? Or is it just for you creating your own brand because you want to create something that makes you feel alive? Right? Yeah. That's emotions.
Absolutely. That emotion itself, right? Because then when we talk about a wide variety of emotions, right? I talked about sadness, depression, and all those things, right? What Charles is talking about, especially in the beginning of a business, is that you have to have that excitement, that joy, the vision of like, man, what would it be? What would it feel like if I were to have this? If I were to be successful at this, what would it look like? How would it feel? Will I be happy with myself? Yeah. You know, and those are the feelings that you should cling on to. You know what I mean? But it's because emotions and logic play a huge part in going together. Just like how Brene Brown talks about vulnerability and courage is very much in the same wheelhouse.
Yep, it is.
You know, because it's a matter of, yes, you can have all these emotions, this excitement and everything like that, but there needs to be logic attached to it, right? There needs to be the combination of both. Yeah. That is like, hey, I can keep this vision, right? I know it's going to happen, right? But at the same time, what am I doing? The logistics, what am I doing to make it happen?
This is how I see it. Logic keeps your employees, your new business partners, to get started.
Yes.
Because if they see a plan, if I was to come up to you and say, this is my vision, here's the plan, you'll feel confident. My only hope as the pitcher is that you will see my plan that's doable and we can execute it and you feel confident with it.
Yes.
But the emotion side, meaning how you carry yourself as a person, as an individual, if you are a servant leader, right? That's what keeps people around. Yes. Right. My mentor Hermie, he always told me that people will join you for what you have, the luxury, the car, everything, but people will stay around for who you are. And I think that's very powerful.
That's very powerful.
Because when people stay around for who you are, first you have companionship, loyalty, and honor. Right? I'm not trying to keep you around for the plan. I'm keeping you around now because, hey, you really vibe with me.
Yeah.
Right? Not only do you feel confident with my vision, but you really like me as a person.
Yes.
Right? That's why you can stick around for this vision.
Yeah.
Right? So, actually, here's a better question. When you first started out, were you more a logical person or an emotional person?
Oh, man. So in the beginning, when I first started, it was, I was very logical. I was methodical, very methodical, man. And
so this is perfect then, because I'm the opposite, but go for it.
So I was methodical. I was like, what do I need to do? Okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. Okay, great, I'm gonna now execute.
Yeah.
And then now, that was my methodicness, right?
Yeah.
And when I got everything set up, then I was like, okay, time to perform. But then when I performed, I'm like, oh man, I'm getting beaten down. I'm getting rejected. I'm like getting all these things. Now emotions started playing a part.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where I was like, shoot, man, how do I do this, right? How do I still believe in my logic and keep executing on the action items I need to do to build my business versus now sitting in my emotions, right?
Because that's where you build resiliency.
Yeah. Resiliency, man. And I built that throughout time. And I feel like now I just feel like Ja Jang, right? Rejection proof.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things where I've now detached my.
Damn, I love that book, Ja Jang. I forgot about that.
Oh, you finished it, right?
Yeah.
I finished it.
The Rejection Proof.
I just finished it.
That was a great book.
Amazing book.
Guys, if you guys are entrepreneurs right now that requires you to recruit people, get to know people, hey, guess what? Doesn't matter if you're a multi-level business marketing or traditional business, doesn't fucking matter. You know why? Because in business, there's only one common ingredient, people. So if you know people, if you want to know people, if you want to get to know people, Rejection Proof by Ja Jang is a great book.
Huge.
To know what it feels like to first get rejected, but how to execute after getting rejected.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
It's like, because then you think about it, right? As a business, as an entrepreneur, you got to anticipate the downsides.
Yeah.
Because there are times where you're rising, you're growing as a person, you're finding success fast.
Yeah.
Right? But given the success, right, there's always going to be bumps in the road.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of understanding that there are bumps in the road and to anticipate it.
Yeah.
And when you anticipate it, that means you can recover back that much faster.
Exactly.
You know, because they say you're supposed to have a system. A system of like, okay, what are the things that I need to do to myself, right, to get me back on track?
Yeah.
You know, and with Ja Jang, it was, he talks about now trying to understand why he got rejected.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what I love about the book, was that the understanding of it all.
Exactly. Because I think when we get rejected, the immediate knee-jerk reaction is, I'm not good enough.
Yep.
So I'm not cut out for this. This person said no to me. You know, like, you beat yourself up, you get in this whole downward spiral that you didn't realize that there was actually a lesson in there. John Maxwell said this best. He said, you don't lose, you learn. You win some, you learn some. That's his mantra.
Yeah.
You win some, you learn some. Hello? How you do today?
You win or you learn.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've attached onto my values, man. And I every time that I go through a tough time, right, I always have to ask myself, what did I learn?
Yeah.
What is this teaching me?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing in regards to relationships, life, just situations that keep coming back up to you. If it's the same pattern and you notice that it keeps coming up. It's the same. It's like, why does this lesson keep coming at me?
Because I'm still doing the same shit.
It's because I'm doing the same shit.
Exactly.
And it's like, I didn't learn from the mistake I made before. And that's why it's coming back up again.
Yeah.
And so that's where I've attached that to myself and saying, okay, if I can grow past this, if I can learn from this situation and I could prevent this from happening the next time, right? That's something that I have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And that's the logic behind it all. That's the understanding, because a lot of times people can get so lost in their emotions when the moment they get rejected, something happened to them, right? It's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. But instead of thinking that way, it's like, okay, why did this happen to me? How did it happen? And how can I improve so that I can avoid it?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a huge phrase that I've kept to me till today.
That's a good book for you to read too, for John Maxwell. It's literally a book called You Win Some, You Learn Some. And I think for me, like, asking the same question or answering the same question, I was the opposite. I was very emotional. I'm still very emotional today. I built my business through emotion first.
Yes.
And when I say I built my business, mostly me just working and hustling. Like, I have not known anything else besides just my emotions. And I feel like I'm very confident when it comes to now understanding my emotions compared to back then. Because back then it was just all about, okay, my mentor will tell me the plan. I was only left to do is what? Execute.
Yeah.
And all I could do was execute is just first get my emotions all up high. And how do I do that? First, I gotta get my plans, right? What's my goal, first of all?
Yeah.
Right? But that's it. The actual plan to like how to execute, my mentor provided that for me, right?
Yeah.
So I was in a luxury where the plan was given to me, I was just left to execute. For me, what I found upon not relying so much on my mentor when it comes to execution is what I've noticed that helped me a lot when it comes to being better when it comes to planning is first reading a lot of books. Because first, that's the only way I can calm myself down, no emotions attached. I'm just reading and reading the book in the author's mind. That's it. What can I implement on that book that I can implement in mine, how to execute better?
Yeah.
I read a lot of books that has to do about like not just my emotions, but like controlling my emotions, all about liberating my emotions, and all about how to execute without emotions, if that makes sense.
That does.
Atomic Habits is a good book.
Yeah.
In there, he talks about how to build habits, but also what I like about what the author does is he has exercises available for you in a certain website. And what you have to do in there is list out all the habits that you do from the morning until night. Boy, I thought I only had like 3 habits.
Yeah.
When I really dug into it, I have like over 25 habits that I do each day throughout the day.
Man.
I did not know about, and I wasn't aware about. And what he makes you do is he makes you put a positive or minus sign in or equal sign in it.
What's
for
the equal
each habit.
sign?
Like this is neither good or bad, right? So for example, like for me, I put in here cold shower. What do I put in here? Plus.
Okay.
Right? Because it has benefits.
Got you.
Right?
Got it.
So, and then what's my negative habit?
What was your negative habit that you found out?
Smoking weed, right? Smoking weed.
Hey, mom and dad.
And I'm not gonna release this one, but that's one of them. Right? Just being in this. First of all, this is hot right now. Hot, honest, open, transparent. That's what we're gonna do. Honest, open, transparent. So when I saw what my plus was and what negative was, then I was able to really look back of like, okay, now I understood why I'm doing these habits. Because first, right, the positive, the cold shower is because I like to feel energized right away.
Yeah.
I take my cold showers like every day, 2 times a day, morning and nighttime.
Man.
Ever since I watched that one episode from Goop Lab.
With Wim Hof?
With the Iceman.
Yeah,
I was like, dude, I'll never look back, right? So I take 2 cold showers a day. I feel energized all the time. But the negative side, which is for the smoking, right? Well, I understood why I started doing that is because really I just wanted to feel the absence of activities.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. It's a matter of like you have this time throughout your day. It's like, what else can I do?
Exactly.
You know?
Right? So John Maxwell actually said this in one of his events that I did last year, and he said, if you want to know why you are doing a habit, don't do it for a week.
So then you can figure out, okay, why am I craving this habit?
Exactly.
Or is this habit really a habit that I need?
Exactly.
You know?
And I was like, I thought that was so powerful. I really, really thought that was so powerful, and I implemented it to my life to add into the logic, right? So I can create a pattern of me understanding my logic and understanding what logic makes sense to move forward the brand I'm creating.
Yes.
Right? The business I'm creating.
Yeah.
Right? So now let's talk about like some of the biggest downfalls of both. So let's talk about like for me, for example, let's talk about emotions. I think that's the biggest one.
Oof.
There's a lot of downfalls in emotions.
Yeah. But there's also a lot of downfalls in logistics too. Like
don't you think? Yeah.
Yeah. If I were to touch up on logistics, right? If you were to focus solely on just logic, then you're just thinking your way out of doing something.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times people could be so logical that they have to, like for me, for example, when I had to set up a whole entire like reasoning behind everything that I was doing, you know, I was just talking myself out of doing something.
Yeah.
Because the reason why I'm creating all these things and these requirements before I could start to do something, it was an excuse. I was prolonging what needed to be done.
Yeah.
And so that's where people can hide behind those, you know? And so that's where emotion needs to kick in, right? To be able to now gain the courage to perform and execute and learn in the situation versus having to rely on logic on like, hey, this has to be perfect before I can do anything.
Exactly. That's what you're referring to is analysis paralysis.
Yes, analysis paralysis.
Exactly, it is.
And
I think
phrase.
I read this book on also Atomic Habits. He talked about motion versus progress. Motion is basically when we start to put things in motion, that's usually when we're now, okay, I have the vision, I have what I want to create in mind, now let me put the plan in. But sometimes 1 week, 1 month is enough, 1 year is enough. But we sell ourselves that it's not enough yet, so we're not going to execute anything yet. So we keep trying to add things to it.
Yeah.
Trying to learn everything right before we execute it.
Yeah.
Because it's so good, that book is so good because it talked about that. The feeling that we get when we put things in motion is we feel like we are progressing.
Yeah.
But in reality, we're not. Because we're still hiding behind motion. We're still hiding behind the plan, the project that we want to create, right? We're not really seeing any results. Yeah. You cannot create any results without executing anything. So to progress, you really now have to put yourself out there, your emotions even out there, right? To conjure up that courage to progress, so you can get back that experience. Yeah. Right? To evaluate that experience.
Yeah. It's a matter of, and I love that you talked about the fact of experimenting, you know, because it's like when you execute and it doesn't work this way, you take a step back, now you get to experiment.
That's an experiment. That's exactly
That's an experiment, right?
That's exactly it.
And that's what Jia Zhang talked about in his book, Rejection Proof, was that he had to experiment different ways of the rejection. Yeah. He had to experiment different ways. So like if he got rejected this way, right? There's a reason why he got rejected this way. So he had to experiment a different approach and go around it so he can get a yes. Yeah. Because at some point during his 100 days of rejection journey, he noticed that it's easy to get no's, you know? But then
it really is easy to get no's.
It's easy to get no's.
If you really think about it, it's so easy.
Yeah.
Anyway, go for it.
But he'd talk about, you know, it's easy to get no's. So he challenged himself to now go around it. Okay, how can I get yeses? Yeah. If it's a crazy situation, it's a crazy approach, then it's like, why not see if it could work? Because you can see it works when you show people that it does work, you experimented with it, that means that, okay, now they could apply that same thing, see if it works for them. Yeah. You know?
Exactly. And that's also one thing that people don't usually talk about, but I feel like now, over the last few years with social media and everything, is body language. I think I know. See, I'm trying to change my book. I know body language plays a huge role when it comes to our execution to anything. Even just talking to someone for a business proposal, for example, body language has everything to do with the emotions that comes out that you conjure up, right? Because what body language does is your tone. You know, like how you present something to them. If your body language is like this, then your tone is going to be lower.
It's like, why should I even, like, if that's that level of belief. Yeah. Like, it's like,
do you want to smoke this hookah?
I don't know, man. Like, this is, I could.
Yeah. Versus, bro, do you want to smoke this hookah?
Bro, you should try this.
You should try this hookah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Body language plays a huge role. And I know, studying a little bit and reading a little bit about introvert people and extroverted people, I really believe this. I think it's BS. Because I know everyone is both.
Yes,
everyone
absolutely.
is both
to a certain extent on whatever spectrum.
Right? There's only one that they've mastered that they haven't really mastered the other side. Right? Because I've met so many introverted people. I can't even tell you. I've met so many introverted people, but if you put them in a fucking party mood, they're fucking extroverted. Yep. Because environment plays a role on that.
Yeah, absolutely. The environment plays a huge role, and it's because somebody could be more open to you because they feel comfortable around you. They feel they could be vulnerable and it's accepted. Yeah. And that's a huge thing, is that people want to be accepted. They don't want to be rejected.
Yeah. That's a law of life, period. Yeah. People want to be accepted, right? No matter where you go, you want to be accepted. Yes. But there's only two ways to define acceptance: being respected or being loved.
Yes.
At least that's how I see it. Either you want to be loved or you want to be respected. Because those two falls in the umbrella of being accepted.
That's an umbrella.
Right? The umbrella, acceptance, right? And then how you go about it is you want to focus on being loved or you want to focus on being respected, right? To me, that makes total sense.
Yeah, man. And I love the fact that you mentioned on respect. And that's something that I've been striving to gain, you know, because being respected means that you're going out there regardless. You know, you're going out there with fear, you're going out there with vulnerability, strength, courage, right? And the fact that you're doing it. And if people are going to come at you and say, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, it's not working. That's not a good idea. Right? That's just people's projecting their insecurity.
Their own insecurities and fears for you.
Yes. But at the same time, they respect you because you're doing something.
Exactly. But I think respect can also go a different route, where it's like, I read this quote and it says, love them enough to tell them the truth and respect them enough to know that they can handle it.
Yes.
It's a fucking powerful quote.
That's powerful,
I love you
man.
enough to tell you the truth because I respect you enough to know that you can handle it.
Man, and that's huge, guys, because that's one of the reasons why Hookah Bout It came about, was because we respected each other, to call each other out.
Well, you don't do it to me enough. I
had to wait a little bit, right? I had to wait a little bit, and then I started doing it. But it's truth. You know, because if you love somebody, if you truly know that they're not acting the way that they should be acting, meaning that they're acting out of character. They're sitting in this negative mindset. They're sitting in this downward spiral. They're sitting in their emotions, right? You know that they're not going to succeed if they're going to live there. So, right? So you got to pull them out of it, and you got to tell them straight up, hey, this isn't you. You need to do certain things to get you back to that level of thriving, you know, something to get excited about.
We all need people like that in our life, but we don't need a lot.
No,
we only need at least one. You're lucky enough you have 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Like, at least for me, like, I could say I have you, I have Joe, and I have my sister, right? But when it comes to that, like, everything else is like, okay, I listen to your opinion, but you're not really in my circle like that. I respect it enough, maybe I'll consider it. Right? I forgot what book I read it on, but he was actually talking about keeping your circle close, but at the same time, you don't want it to be so close that you don't respect everyone else's opinion. Right? Because there's someone out there that you might not fucking know that could give you the opinion that you needed the most.
And it's and that touches up on, it's not the message, it's the messenger.
Exactly.
Because
what?
Well, because think about it, right? Because there's a lot
at that perspective.
In the perspective, right? Because if you're so close, if you're so close to somebody, and it's like, man, I'm so close to you, dude. You're like my friend, right? And it's like, I could listen to you. Right? But if I hear it from somebody else, and because I hear it from you constantly, right? And sometimes it doesn't resonate. But then when somebody else does it now, then it's like, why does that make sense? And then you're going to go and say,
I fucking told you that.
I fucking told you this whole entire time.
You guys have probably had those conversations with a couple of your friends or your buddies. It was like, yo, I already told you that. Like, I fucking told you that. You didn't listen to me. But sometimes, because it plays a role with, like, comfortability. Right? Law of association. Like, who do you associate yourself with most? Most of the time, you can get numb from those people at the same time.
You really can.
But at the end of the day, for me, weirdly, I'm just speaking for myself, I listen to the people who are close to me, right? That's why the longest time you've known me, I'm always like asking you for opinion or Kishel for opinion. Sometimes I just want to vent, right? It's law of association is something that most people also don't consider. But now let's talk about like into the entrepreneurship itself. Let's go back into, we talk about logic and emotion. We've talked about the beginnings of our stories and stuff like that. But now let's really talk about like, okay, the middle of entrepreneurship, right? Like that actual, because here's one quote that I heard, and I forgot who said it. He said, sometimes it's so hard to recognize that where you are now is where you wish to be 5 years ago. Because you're so caught up with the fucking today.
You're so like tunnel vision that you don't see who you are.
Like who you are now is who you wish to be 5 years ago. Now you're living it and you still being ungrateful to the moment because you're not realizing it. Has that occurred to you a couple of times in the middle of your journey when you've finally sat down and just sit still and be like, man, you know what? 2 years ago, this is where I wanted to be.
The moment where you have that clarity, and I learned this through the journey, right? It's the gratitude gap. What it is that you're like we were talking about how you have this tunnel vision. You're going, you're performing, and then you're not seeing anything else, right? The gratitude gap is that you're climbing up this hill, you're climbing up this mountain, and you're like, man, how how tall is this mountain? You know, I feel like I can't get there.
Yeah.
You know, the next thing you know, you look back, you're like, oh shoot, I've come a long way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the gratitude gap. You
That's
look
a
back.
Great analogy.
You look back at your journey, and you're like, man, what? Like who? I wouldn't be saying the things that I'm saying now if I hadn't learned through the experiences, if I hadn't read the books, if I hadn't, you know, gone out there with fear. That's something that people don't realize, is that to be grateful for how far you've gone, the fact that you're alive today is something that you could look back and be like, man, like I'm grateful to be alive.
Yeah.
And to have the opportunity to do what I want.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm not to the level, and this is where people could ask themselves, if I'm not at the level where I'm at, that just means that, okay, I obviously I wanted to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? But it was like I've gotten so numb to what I'm doing that I didn't progress. I didn't grow. I just kept doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And that's kind of what you would get in that 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You get autonomous.
Yeah.
You get in your car, you wake up early, you get in your car, you go to work, 8 hours
lunch.
pass, eat your lunch, whatever it is, right? Come back home, and then it's like you sit down and you just relax because you're so drained from work.
Yeah.
Versus progressing and learning and building your mindset up and reading these books and thinking about, okay, if this job isn't going to get me to the freedom that I want, then what should I do in terms of an entrepreneurial path, right? Where should I go?
Yeah.
That's the questions that you should be thinking about during your free time.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, piggybacking, like, with your generational gap, is also understanding how you break down what you're grateful for. Because I think, I know for a fact that a lot of people are grateful only when they hit a certain milestone. For example, I hit my promotion. Oh, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to break down when something happened.
Yeah.
Or I bought my house, I bought this company, or I bought this, I bought that, or I finally got this, finally got that. It's easy to be thankful and grateful.
Because you achieved.
Because you finally achieved what you wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
But I challenge you, and I challenge all the people, and I've done this a lot of times, to be grateful when there's nothing to be grateful for in paper, because you really haven't gotten the things that you want yet.
Yeah.
So if you can be grateful in a random ass day, even if you haven't gotten the thing that you want yet, imagine what kind of gratitude will actually come out when you finally hit the milestone that you've been trying to work for. But it's like being grateful in an atomic sense.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm grateful I'm alive. I'm grateful I'm breathing.
Yeah.
I'm grateful I still have a roof in my head. Right? I'm grateful I have friends. I'm grateful I have one close friend that I can talk to anytime, anywhere. Right?
Yeah.
Versus I'm only grateful
when I achieve something.
I achieve this.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to be grateful when you finally have the things that you want.
Versus being grateful for the things that you don't have yet.
Exactly. And you know what's funny? I didn't know you liked Tony Robbins as much as I did, right? But he always talked about this, and he said, you can't be fearful and grateful at the same time.
You can't.
You can't. Just even thinking about it, okay, how can I be fearful but grateful at the same time? You can't.
Yeah.
Because you gotta pick one.
Your body or your mind cannot allow.
It can't allow
both.
either. Oh, yeah, at the same time.
At the same time.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, you have to pick one. What are you gonna live today? Fearful or grateful?
But here's one of the things I want to touch up on gratefulness. If you go extreme, if you're extremely grateful, if you go too far in being extremely grateful, then now you're in comfort.
Yeah, it becomes comfortability.
It becomes comfortability.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I have this. But yet you're not where you want to be.
Exactly.
Right? And so people tend to settle.
Yeah. I've actually caught myself in that for the last year and a half. Like, okay, I'm so grateful. I understand I'm so grateful with so many things. But because I was so grateful, I recognize everything around me. It's like, okay, I'm so comfortable now. Right?
Yeah.
I'm even asking myself, it's like, what is actually that fine line of like being grateful and noticing you're grateful, but then getting back into that fearful mode because you want to progress. You know what secures a lot of people's job? Besides downfall economy? Fear.
It's a fear to
the boss, fear of not doing well, fear of not performing, fear of underachieving, fear of this, fear of that. Because you're so fearful, you want to keep your job and possibly get promoted, right? You're gonna do your best. Under promise, over deliver.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Like,
yeah.
If you put fear in the right context, I think you can progress a lot in life.
And that's where fear is. You can never eliminate fear. There's no possible way you can eliminate fear. It's always going to be there, right? But what's going to happen is that you perform under fear, and that's with courage. And that's where even the most successful people out there, it looks like they have no fear, but in reality, they do.
Yeah.
If you watch the Brene Brown special on Netflix, she talks about being the introvert. And it's like, oh man, my introvertness, you know, it's my heart rate's up there, right? But that's the fear. Even though she's so successful, she has so many people watching her, right? She still has the fear.
Yeah.
But she performs anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
because the gratitude overcoming that fear is much bigger. That's the payoff.
It is the payoff.
Oh shit, that made so much sense. That's the payoff.
There you go.
That's the fucking payoff.
It is a payoff. And that's kind of touching up on everything, right? Emotions, logic, everything in life, you know? Like the phrase of too much of one thing is bad.
Yeah.
And it's so true in everything.
Yeah.
And so that's where you have to figure out this fine balance and harmony of being a human and knowing that you have these emotions, right? And you have these logic and you have all these things happening for you, right? It's a matter of kind of like a little dance where you're going back and forth with it all, right?
But you're conscious about it.
I think
consciousness and awareness plays a huge role.
Oh yeah, you have to be.
Whenever you're grateful or using fear for a bigger payoff. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Because people could be so blinded. People could see so blinded, like when we became too grateful, right? We became too grateful, too comfy.
Yeah.
And then we just had fun all the time, and it was like, you know what?
Raving too much, raving too much, going to the fucking parties too much.
We should celebrate.
We just celebrate. One of our mentors asked us was like, okay, what are you celebrating for?
True.
And that was like a question that made us come down again.
It is.
Like,
it is.
what are you celebrating about today? I mean, it made sense a month ago. It made sense last week. But today, what are you celebrating for?
You can't celebrate for months, years on end, right?
You can if you fucking work 20 years.
But that's after doing all the work,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because then this is where, you know, a lot of successful sports teams, right? They always win these championships.
Yeah.
They win these championships, and then they say this: you guys celebrate tonight. Tomorrow is day one.
Yeah, day one again. I mean, that's Kobe mentality, but reality, honestly, I watch a lot of basketball. Some championship teams, they celebrate for like a whole month or the whole 4 months that they're off.
Oh.
Right? But Kobe's mentality is more like, we won today, we're going to celebrate today, this weekend, but next week, we're back.
Yep.
We're back at it, right?
Yep.
But let's talk about the last thing to close it up. I think this is very important. Logic. Now, this is the logic side.
Yep.
For the people that does have a job, that wants to start their own business. What's the steps, or is there even the right steps to take to becoming an entrepreneur? By the way, let me disclose this. The reason why I'm asking this is one of the last 3 questions because this first, COVID has enabled all of us, really, if we really just take the chance, right?
But also disabled,
yeah, at the same time. But really, in reality, enabled a lot of people to start their own brand. Because first, unemployment has risen, so we can comfortably say a lot of people right now lost their job and enabled a lot of people to start their own brand. But the second is some people just chose to be comfortable in their parents' home or in the roof of their own home and let the partner do the hard work until they get their job back.
Yeah.
So I'm asking this because is there right steps? And for me, I never had a job. I've never experienced how it is to clock in and clock out. So I really wouldn't know the kind of psyche that goes in one's head to let go of a job to pursue a dream.
Ooh, good one. So that's kind of where I come in, right? I had my first career as a massage therapist. That's my official career. But I've had multiple jobs beforehand, right? Because what's required nowadays to have a good, paying, stable job, you need to have school. Not only school, but you also need to have experience. That's where I had to go out and get that experience, clock in, clock out, do all those things, right? Having to go through those motions, it got so tiring. Went to school, you know.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to massage school.
Okay.
So when I was going to massage school, I had 2 jobs at the time. I would go to 2 a.m., drive to the delivery company I was working.
2 a.m.?
Yeah, drive to the
Holy
delivery company.
fuck.
Go to school from 8 to 1 o'clock, and then after that,
Wow.
I would go home, get ready, go to my second job, and I would go from there to closing from like 5 to 11 p.m.
I did not know that about you.
So I mean, yeah, and that's what a lot of people go through, and that's the struggle, what it is. And so I would say the right step, not necessarily the right step, but I would say a beneficial step towards wanting to shift into entrepreneurship from having a 9 to 5 is to work on time management. Look at your day-to-day schedule. What time can I replace, right? If I'm watching Netflix, if I'm looking to relax, right? What if I were to sacrifice a few weeks?
Yeah.
A few weeks of just spending this time in figuring out, okay, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
What are the things that I have passion in? What are the things that I can, I have my skill sets? What can I implement that into a business?
Yeah.
And so I would say, look at your time, find some gaps in your time, and sit down and really think. Really think about those times and think about who you want to become, where you want to go, and what you want your life to be.
So you talk about the time gap. You said you go to your first job 2 a.m. to what time?
2 a.m. to 7:30, and then school 8 o'clock.
Damn.
Until
like
2? 1 o'clock, or 1 o'clock or 2.
And your last job is 1 to
4 or 5 o'clock to 11 p.m.
God damn. So that's interesting because you talked about the time gap. Where was the time for you to even think about entrepreneurship when you had 2 jobs?
Well, I didn't think about entrepreneurship during the time that I was going to school. That was me wanting to have massage therapy as my career. And one of the reasons why I selected massage therapy is a lifelong skill.
If you know what I mean.
If you know what I mean. I get these hands are gifted. I still do massage today. You know, that was my first career, and when I did it for 5 years. And at some point, I'm like, man, is this all I want to do?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I selected it is not only because I wanted to be a lifelong skill, but I made a good enough money doing it part-time so that I could have time to either have fun, experience life, or I could think about what else do I want to do? That was my stepping stone career. I chose massage therapy as my first career. If all else fails, I could fall back on it. So that's where, during the time that I was lower end, or not the deteriorating end of my career, I was like, man, I want to do something else. Yeah. You know, I had in my mind, I'm like, well, do I want to go to school? Well, that's going to take time, and that's going to take money, a lot of money, loans, everything like that. Loans on top of my other loans, you know. And so that bogged my mind. And then I was like, man, like what can I do? So when entrepreneurship came to me from a friend of mine, you know, it opened my eyes to the possibilities. I could earn a significant amount, right, in a short time frame through entrepreneurship. Because you're creating something, right? You're selling value, you're giving value, and you're generating income from it.
And you hit a good point when you talked about experience, because like, how do I know if this is going to be fulfilling? It's a really great question. The only way you can know it is through experience. Because
exactly.
I can't tell you enough, even from my own experience, feeling like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to be fulfilled. But when I started doing it, I really wasn't fulfilled.
You get numb.
You know,
sometimes.
what you think is going to fulfill you actually doesn't fulfill you.
Yeah. Sometimes, and that's kind of where passion gets, because you think about it, right? Passion, right? Passion is something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But when you monetize it and you look at it, it's like, I'm doing this as a means to make money and pay my bills. I'm no longer having fun.
Yeah.
I'm now worrying about paying my bills.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
That's so fucking true. Because this was my mindset towards passion all the time. Like, for me, passion is emotion. And how I heard it from a TED Talk, and ever since I heard it from a TED Talk, I was like, that's exactly how I view passion. I'm not imposing it that's how you're supposed to view passion, but this is how I view it. For me, passion is more so generated by the results you created. So results, right, fuel your passion. Because if you see the results, I feel more passionate about it. It keeps me going. Yeah. Versus it's like, if I'm passionate about it, but I don't see any results, I could debate within myself, I'm not seeing results, maybe that's not my passion. Yeah. Versus I'm already seeing the results, then I've built off from that result to create to fuel my passion. What am I going to debate about? Exactly, right? Yeah. And so that's the one thing that a lot of people mistake, is that they have to find their passion now, right? But the one thing that a lot of people struggle with is having to pay bills, is having to go past the finances part. But when you get past the finances and you're not worrying about it anymore, you build a sustainable business that's now funding your expenses and everything like that,
then you could focus on your passion projects.
Yeah.
You could enjoy doing something and not having to worry about making money from it.
Yeah.
Like this stuff, I'm not even looking to make money from it, right? I'm looking to talk to you guys, talk to the audience, talk to people, and share what we've learned so that we could help people.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Because like this was a conversation literally last night with me and Joe, and we were talking about how, you know, like with the financial industry, I know that's not my passion. And it just so happened that was main way for me to make income. And it generated me over 6 figures of income. Grateful, right? I'm grateful that it is. And it's a conversation I have with my mentors so many times, because they always ask me, Charles, how come you're not trying to hit, you know, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, a million? Don't you want that? Don't you want your next level promotion? I was like, honestly though, it's not my passion. Like, I love what I do. I tell this all the time. I'll tell them all the time. I love what I do, but it's not my passion. I think people monetize love and passion to become one thing. To me, that's not how I think. I think love is separate, and I think passion is separate. Because I think love is such, how do I put this? It's like, love is a feeling ultimately, but you can also pick and choose. Yeah. I think passion is just it's just so spiritual. I don't know if you see what I'm trying to say.
Spiritual, what do you mean by spiritual?
I think passion is a little bit more spiritual in a sense where it's like, hey, I'm passionate about you, that's why I love you. Right? Like
a connection.
It's a connection. It's like, I think for me, it's like, hey, I love you. But then if you want to really elevate that, hey, I love you, and that's why I'm passionate about me and you. I don't know if that makes sense.
And that, it does make sense. And so that's kind of where people mistaken love as something that, like a feeling, but really, love is actually action.
Action, exactly.
Love is action.
You hear it from churches, like you know, sermons. Yeah. You hear it from mentorship when you have conversations with them, the people who are really aware. And then you hear it from, like, for me, my experience, like I hear it all the time from my spiritual mentors. Yeah. Like some spiritual mentor will say love and passion are the same, but majority of the people that I've met who are my spiritual mentors will tell me love and passion are separate, because love is all about action. Passion, for some reason, is a little bit more spiritual, because it's a little bit more something that's not tangible, right? Yes. It's a little bit something that you cannot manufacture.
You know, that leads me to my question. If you were to think of passion, right, would you say that if you were to find significance in something, right, like where you feel significant, would you tie that in with passion, with feeling that level of significance that you strive for?
Yes and no, because I think you can feel significant just by hearing your name. That's why I think it's so endearing when people say your name all the time, or through a text or through a call. Hey, you know what, Carlo? Like, I really agree with that. Or, hey, Carlo, like, I just wanted to say, you know, like, it feels endearing, right? But I think significance plays a huge role first when you understand yourself. Like, when you really understand yourself, you don't really need significance from everyone else. You just need significance from yourself. And I think what passion does is it elevates your level of significance that you view yourself. Because with passion, you can literally say out loud, I'm passionate about this. And you cannot, for me, you cannot intertwine that without a level of significance that you feel for yourself. Right? Because the results that you create came out from passion and the significance that you felt for yourself. That's why you want to share it for the people. Because I'm passionate about this, that's why I feel like I need to create a platform to create something like this to provide for the people. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so now you've heard my part, right? My shift to entrepreneurship. Yeah. So for you, when you started entrepreneurship at the young age of 17, how have you adapted? Because I know since you haven't had a job, a 9-to-5, you never clocked in before, right? How have you thrived during entrepreneurship to go from high school to now just, I gotta make money?
To answer, that's a powerful question, because I'd like to think I'm an anomaly in a sense with my story, because I don't really hear a lot of people get out of high school and then pursue entrepreneurship right away. I think the most I will hear is like high school, then go to a business school, right? Yeah. Go to school for about 4 years, and then pursue the passion that they've had since they were 16, 14, right? To create something. Yeah. For me, I've always known I never wanted the boss. That's for a fact.
Yeah.
Because I've seen my parents growing up. My mom was a doctor in the Philippines. My dad was an engineer, right? So my mom already had a clinic. I grew up in a clinic, and that's where we lived in the Philippines. And I would remember, like, just vividly remember her patients coming in with like illnesses. I remember this one time I was like 6 years old. One patient came up with a bullet wound, and I remember this guy was like screaming for help. I was like 4 or 5, and that was the first time I've seen what servant leadership was. Because my mom's area of work was a doctor, so she literally is in a workspace or environment or an industry where it's serving first.
Yeah.
But what's powerful with that is like the level of respect that the patients were giving to my mom was something I didn't really understand, but spiritually speaking, emotionally speaking, I was absorbing everything as a kid. Like, I was absorbing the level of respect they were giving my mom.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it fueled me, is like, I want that level of respect. Right?
I see that.
So entrepreneurship was never a word for me growing up, because I never heard of it before until like I got into actual business.
Yeah.
But my mindset was, so here's what happened. When I was 17, graduated high school, San Lorenzo High School, shout out SLZ, Rebels for life. From there, I wanted to become an actor. The reason being is because when I was growing up, my mom wanted me to be an actor. Because if you're in the Philippines, you only have a couple of choices: doctor, nurse, engineer, or an actor. That's it. So I went with the actor route because that's where I knew, and growing up, I loved making people laugh. Entertaining. I love being in front of a camera. And I wanted to build off that. So when I got into college in LA, in New York Film Academy, I loved it, but it wasn't my passion. That's when my first inkling of like, I love this, I love being in front, but I'm not passionate about the product that we're developing, meaning movies.
Yeah.
Maybe I could do something like this where I love being in front of a camera, but I'm passionate about talking about real things.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
Right?
Love that.
So while I was in college, I was already in a business that my friend recruited me to, right? That knives that I was telling you to. And at that time, I was already making $25,000. I experienced making $25,000 my first month.
Yeah.
One scenario that really, isn't this ironic? I'm in a filmmaking school, and I still have to go to a mathematics class. Isn't that fucking stupid? I don't know, for me. I was like,
that's college
and
for you.
I remember this specifically. We were in a classroom with mathematics as the topic. And we had like our own computer set. And I remember the person to my right, I forgot her name, but she was looking at her student loans. And I was just like looking at it, and she was like crying because it was like over $60,000 already. And she probably went to a college before that, I don't know, but it was over $60,000 already. And I was looking in my head, I was staring at it, and then I opened up my checking statement from my earnings overall at that point in time. After 3 months of doing the business, I already made $40,000 during that summer. And in my head, I was like, that was the first time I had an opening in my head. I was like, why am I doing this if everyone around me is trying to earn what I'm earning right now? Eventually, there's this 4-year gap where I could do the work now, earn this right now, instead of putting myself 4 years in pause, get myself in debt.
So you're going the opposite way.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, this is stupid. And I remember vividly having this conversation with my parents. I was like, Mom, I want to drop out.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal, right? Because they had to help me move from here to LA, move everything. I had my own apartment in LA. I had a roommate. Everything was set. And then for me to come back, tell my mom after 3 months being in college, I was like,
hey, 3 months?
I was like, I don't think this is for me, Mom, like my dad, right? I mean, the conversation didn't go that well. Obviously, they were like, no, what are you talking about, Papa? If you're gonna move back, you might as well just go here in college here.
Yeah.
And that's how I was like, okay, if I can move back, but I still have to go to college, fine, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I moved back here, went to Expression College in Emeryville. After 3 months, I was like, Mom, I really don't want to do this. I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do this. And from there on, I just kept my ground. And it was a I remember it was 3.5 years ago, finally, when I convinced my mom and my dad that like entrepreneurship is really for me.
Yeah.
Even though they saw me and my earnings, they just really wanted to have that mindset of fallback just in case things don't work out.
Yeah.
But I made it known to them that I know what I'm doing, I love what I'm doing, and I love being in the creative space, that this is what I want to pursue, right? And so here I am, almost 9 years later, still haven't secured a job. I don't ever want to secure a job, right? Instead, I want to create a job for people.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do, right? That's my ultimate goal. And so for me, entrepreneurship has been a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I cannot talk about myself without having to talk about entrepreneurship, because most of my adult life coming up was about entrepreneurship. Whereas for people when they were 17, 18, 19, 20, it was all about partying,
college,
getting fucked up, fraternities, right, stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that, right? But because that's really structure-wise, that's really where it should be. But I just caught this moment of awareness. Thank God I saw that loan that she was looking at, and I was like, I do not want that loan for myself, nor do I want that loan for my parents.
Yeah.
So I just took that notion of like, I don't know exactly what the fuck I'm doing. I'm basing it off from my emotions. Circling back into that shit. Because like I told you, I built my business through emotion first. Like it was not logic. It was not like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to earn this. It wasn't that.
But then again, you think about it, you look back at the loan statement, that was logic. Logically wise, I cannot, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But that's my story. And I know for a fact, for people in here, people have connected with you more and your story more because majority of people have jobs first. Versus mine, that's not the route to go. If you're in high school right now, I'm not telling you that's the route to go. What I'm telling you, if that's the route you want to go, you better make sure that you're secured with yourself first.
Yes.
That you're
100%.
secured about the vision that you have and that your emotions are in place and that everything that you want to execute will be there.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because the last thing that I didn't talk about is the investments. Because if I'm not going to go to college, okay, and if I'm not willing to pay my dollar to this college, then I'm going to be spending my dollar somewhere else. Where am I going to be spending that? Not booze, not cocaine, not weed, right? I spent that on self-development. I went to Tony Robbins at the age of 19, 18 years old, and I took my sister with me. That was my first exposure of what real life was, real priorities and problems. Because I put myself in that environment, I grew up quick.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so here's the reality, right? People actually pay taxes. People actually got to pay bills, right?
Yep.
That's the type of stuff I invested myself in. I got my coach at the age of 19 years old, paying $500 a month, life coach at the age of 19. That was a big deal for my parents. They were like, what is this? Why are you paying $500 a month, right? If you are looking to get into that type of route, you better make sure you have money, not have money because you can always loan. The problem is not getting money because you can loan. The problem is where are you going to invest that money to, right? I was just fortunate enough that I was already making money that I could invest my own money to something. I didn't have to ask my parents for it, right? So, I mean, that concludes
our topic.
I know we talked about a lot of stuff today, but I think it's a very powerful topic to talk about.
It is.
In 2020. I mean, 2021 now, right? But last year was a big deal.
Yeah.
Because 2020 was an opening and a gateway for so many entrepreneurs coming up or expanding their business. Yeah. Right? So, any closing remarks you want to tell to the audience?
Man, if you guys are thinking about it, do something. Just do one step, and that step could be just telling yourself that I want to strive for something better. I want to be more. Right? Make that decision and take the proper steps in terms of making that happen. Right? Take a look at your situation. If it's not where you want to be, right? Take a look at, okay, if it's not what I'm doing now, then what is it? Okay. All right, guys. So that concludes the episode.
That's it, guys. But before you guys go, please help us grow. And the only way we can help each other, organization and this Hookah Bout It session grow is with your help. So
Yes.
please go like, subscribe in every platform that you can find us. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, probably TikTok one day. Why not? I like TikTok. So guys, please, 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 and share this as much as you can. If you like any specific content that we talked about today, that helped us tremendously. Thank you guys,
later.
appreciate it.